So good morning guys, this is our mini lecture for this week. For this week, we're going to talk about the bisection method or the half interval method. Okay? So, ano ba itong half interval method or bisection method? So kung before, di ba, we have the Gauss-Jordan and the Gauss-Seidel. Those methods, numerical methods, we use them to find the solutions of our equation. Tama po ba? So we have two equations, three equations, three unknowns, and then we try to solve it the x, the y, and the z values using those methods, right? Now, for this topic, this is itong bisection method. This is another method in solving the roots of your equation. Okay? So let us define this properly. So the bisection method is known as the interval halving method. You will know later kung bakit siya halving method, okay? And it is a root finding method. So kung before we are using the numerical method in finding the solutions, now ngayon we are going to use numerical method in finding the root of a certain equation. Okay? It is a binary search method or dichotomy method. So ang pinaka-step ng ating bisection would be it separates the interval and subdivides the interval in which the root of the equation lies. So say for example, we have this equation. Say this is the graph of our equation. Okay? We don't know. Maybe this is third degree or quadratic. We don't know. So as of the moment, ito lang muna yung information natin that this is the graph of our equation. So if we have, if this is the graph of our equation, itong point dito, itong red dot, itong intersection niya on our x-axis, di po ba this is our root of equation? Di po ba pag nahanap natin yung root ng equation ng ating function, it is right here. It is where your f of x is equal to 0. Tama po ba? Okay, nasa bisection method, hinahanap natin itong root na to by dividing the intervals. Okay? Ganito yung pinaka-step niya. First, kukuha tayo ng what do you call that? Kukuha tayo ng initial values. Say, for example, meron kang x1 and then x2. Okay? And then, i-divide natin yung dalawa. We will get the midpoint of the two. Say, for example, andito siya. Okay? And ito-try natin yung value nitong x kung our f of x is equal to 0. Now, in this case, obviously, hindi pa po siya f of x is equal to 0 kasi andito pa po yung ating f of x. So, that would tell us na hindi pa yun yung ating final answer. Okay? And then, we're going to repeat that process hanggang sa mahanap natin itong point na to. Kung hindi man siya exactly, at least more or less, andito sa point na to. Right? So, say for example, in this case, andito yung ating mid. Okay? Now, tingnan mo dito sa left side. If we're going to look at the left side, our equation does not lie here. Our equation lies on this side, the right side. So, ibig sabihin, sa next natin na process, or na iteration, we will now focus on this side and this side. Okay? Doon na lang tayo magfo-focus. Hahanapin natin ulit yung equation. Kukuha ulit tayo ng first value ng x and then second value and then i-divide natin by 2. Then titingnan natin kung saan nagla yung ating root ng ating equation. Okay? So in this case, kung andito tayo, i-retain natin tong x2 and itong isa would be our next value. Pag divide natin into 2, we have it here, and our equation lies on this side. So, ito na ulit. Ito plus ito. Kukunin yung midpoint, is titingnan kung saan yung equation natin, or yung root ng ating equation, which is on this side. And then the process would continue hanggang sa mahanap natin ito. Okay? So, we have here our formal steps in finding the root of our equation using the bisection method. So, first, we're going to find 2 points, say A and B. Ito na yun, x1 and x2. And then, find the midpoint of A and B. Say, for example, tatawagin natin yung midpoint as T. Okay? Hanapin yung midpoint. Tapos, iti-test yung midpoint if yung f of t ba at that would be 0. Kung hindi, uulitin natin yung interval, i-divide ulit sa 2, tapos iti-test out ulit kung f of t ba is equal to 0. Okay? So, hanggang sa mahanap natin yung f of t is equal to 0, and then approximately, ito na yung ating root of equation. So we have here our example. So example sa ating bisection method. So say for example, we have this function f of x is equal to 4x cubed minus 12.3x squared minus x plus 16.2. Okay, so we have here our equation, and then we're going to find the root. Okay, remember na yung root is yung value ng x such that pag sinubstitute mo po siya dito sa equation, that your f of x will be equal to 0. Okay, and since this is to the third degree, we are expecting to have r1, 2, and 3. 3 roots. Tama po ba? Kasi di po ba pag quadratic equation, we have two roots. So, ibig sabihin kapag to the third degree ito, then we will have three roots. So, say for example, nag-given na itong ating root 1 which is 1.54883. Given na to. And then we're going to look for these values. Okay? Tapos, binigay sa problem na yung R2 natin is yung estimate, di ba meron tayong points na A and B? Yeah. So, binigay na estimate is -1 and -2. Itong R3, yung estimate na binigay is 3 and 2. Anong ibig sabihin nito? Ibig sabihin yung answer natin would lie in between these values. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, you are not expecting an answer which is greater than 3 or less than 2. Ito naman, you're not expecting an answer which is greater than -2 or less than -1. So, ito yung boundaries. Okay? So, ano nga po ulit yung step? Itong initial natin na value, i-divide sa 2, then susubukan kung yung value ba natin ng f of x is magzi-0 or not. Okay? Okay, so we have here our process. So, nilagay na po natin sa table para mabilis sundan. Wait for it. Okay, so this is our iteration. We have here our xk positive, or ito yung ating A, and ito yung B. Okay? Ito naman yung ating T, or yung interval. Take note yung formula natin for interval, that is your xk plus xk negative, or yung A and B, divide 2, kasi di po ba interval. And then, ito na yung ating f of x, yung value ng ating f of x, if ilalagay natin itong 0.5 or itong ating interval. Okay? Okay, so initially, hanapin natin si R2. Sabi initially, di ba kanina, your R2 is, ito yung ating xk positive is -1, k negative is -2, or ito yung ating A and B. So, ilalagay natin siya dito. This is our A and B. Oops, sabi -1. So, this would be, sorry, I'm going to replace our given. This is now 1 and -2. Okay? So, yung ating boundary, or yung initial guess natin is somewhere between 1 and 2. So, ibabalik natin siya sa ating table. Ayan. So, I'm gonna erase this first. Ayan. So, initially, meron kang guess na 1 and -2. Yung average ng dalawa, di po ba 1 plus 2 minus that would be 0.5, -0.5. And then, pag i-replace mo yung -0.5 sa ating value ng x, that would be 13.125. And this is not equal to 0. So, ibig sabihin, we will have our second iteration. Or yung, our second iteration. This is second iteration because this is first, this is second. Or our second iteration. So, kapag this is positive, we're going to retain this b value or yung x negative value. So, kung 2 to kanina, 2 ulit siya. Yung ating next na a would be yung ating, kanina, yung ating ito. Okay, so ilagay natin siya dito. And then, kukunin ulit yung interval ng dalawa, which is this one. And then, i-replace ulit. Hahanapin ulit yung f of x, which would give you 9.58. If I were you, I'm going to pause the video and itatry ko siyang i-solve on my own. Take note, itong f of x po is itong given natin. Okay, eto siya. Nire-replace natin yung values ng ating x. Okay, so you pause the video and i-check nyo kung talagang ito ba yung sagot. And still, this is not 0, so which means we will still have to continue. So again, kasi this is not yet 0, ibig sabihin, i-continue pa natin yung ating iteration. Okay? And since this is negative, ano nga yun, we are going to retain this value. And then yung bago nating b would be ito ng k or t or yung midpoint nila. Okay? So we have it here. Naka-program na to, so automatic na yun sinusolve. But you are to solve this manually on your own. Okay? So I'm just explaining yung nasa loob niya para pag kayo na lang, of course, you know kung saan siya galing. Anyways, ilalagay ko rin to sa Schoology for your future reference. Alright. So, since this is negative, mare-retain po yung value ni positive. So, 0.5, still 0.5. And this one, ito na yung t kanina. Alright? Now, ang bago nating midpoint or t would be the average nilang dalawa, which would give you this one. Yan, itetest natin yung value nito using f of x. Ilalagay natin sa original equation and it will give us 4.97. Still not even close to 0. So, padayon gihapon ta sa atong iteration. Okay? Since this is positive, i-retain po natin yung ating negative value or yung ating b or yung ating xk negative. And then, this would be from this one. Yung kanina na midpoint, siya na ulit yung ating bagong a. Hahanapin. Oops. This one is in Excel, so naka-program lang siya. Like this, no? Inano ko lang na if L16, which is, asan bang L16? This one is greater than 0. Basta naka-program siya. So, average ulit na lang dalawa or yung midpoint. This is the midpoint. Tapos kukunin ulit yung value ng f of x. Still, hindi pa siya 0. So, proceed ka. Okay? So, i-pause niyo yung video and you try to solve these values here. Now, if you notice, right here, hindi pa siya equal to 0. Dito, malapit na, pero hindi pa rin. This is 0.3, medyo malayo pa. Ang goal natin is up to 2 zeros. Ito. Okay? Yung magkaroon ka na ng 0.00, then we will call that our solution. Right? So, hanggang dito, this is not yet. Still, kulang pa. And until ma-reach natin to, then we can say, stop na tayo. Right? We can now stop. And ibig sabihin, nahanap na natin yung root ng equation, which is itong pinaka-last na value ng t na na-derive natin. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, by having kasi dinivide into 2 yung ating initial guess, we arrived into this value wherein ito na ngayon yung pinaka-closest answer natin sa ating root. Okay? Now, if you notice, if you would still continue, yung value mo, maglalapit lang siya dito. Okay? This is 0.003, this is 0.004. Habang lumalayo ka ng lumalayo, you would get closer to the answer. Closer and closer. But as of sa klase natin, if you would arrive into 0.00, then that will be considered na. This is our answer. So for this certain problem, this is our final answer. We have negative 1.02 for your root number 2. Okay? So ibig sabihin, yung ating root 2 would be, ano nga ulit yung value? 0.025. Negative 1.025. Alright? Now, we still have our root 3. So, subukan natin hanapin yung root 3. Sabi, it is from between 3 and 2. So, dito sa aking code, replace ko lang siya ng 3. X positive would be 3 and this one is 2. Ayan. And then, I'm going to look for values na 0.00 siya. So, right here. Ito pwede na to actually. Okay? So, I'm going to stop here. And so, ibig sabihin that will give you an idea that our root 3 or the third root is this one, 2.551. Now, I can now write this here. This is now 2.551. Okay? So, you can pause the video and you try to replace, plug in itong values ng ating R1, R2 dito sa ating X. And it should give you 0. Okay? So, this is our bisection method. If na may problem, you can PM me or before mag-PM, you try to source out lang din muna sa internet. Okay? Pag hindi talaga, then you PM me. Okay? And be guided sa Schoology for the next steps. Bye!